Next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Bill Ackman keeps talking, the billionaire investor and Trump convert. He was on Megyn Kelly's podcast, and he just continues to talk because he's just so excited that the animal spirits are back.
Teams of their businesses are extremely optimistic. Even those that have voted against Trump are excited about what's going to happen with the economy. So I think we're going to have a big economic boom, and actually freeing up a meaningful number of government employees to make them available to the private sector will actually help manage the potential for inflation. So the cost cutting is one thing, but making the government more efficient on regulatory approvals. You think about how difficult it is in America to build a bridge, a highway, a house, and the faster, if you can accelerate construction, obviously that has a huge impact on infrastructure, the fluidity of the economy, driving demand, and actually I think freeing up government workers to step into some of these roles that will be created will actually help the economy manage through this period.
I don't disagree with any of that. Let's see what Jim Iuorio thinks. Jim Iuorio is the host of the Future's Edge podcast. He's also a special contributor to wirepoints.org. Jim, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I love that he said freeing up government workers as a euphemism for firing government workers.
Right.
Yes.
That's a gentle way to say it.
Yes.
They want to spend more time with their families, Jim.
Releasing them back into the wild. Yes.
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, are you as enthusiastic about the prospects as Ackman?
Of course, I'm very enthusiastic about the prospects, but I think there's something that people are missing, is that when you are looking at Donald Trump and his economists even more, what their plan is to tackle inflation from a supply side angle, meaning reduce regulation so companies can produce more freely and increase the supply side. Now, the problem with it is that his policies in the short to even slightly medium term will kind of release demand into the face of still not the proper supply. So just to put it in perspective, like when Donald Trump was apparent he was going to win on that Tuesday night, the oil market started to trade lower. The knee-jerk was, okay, we have a president like Donald Trump who comes in, and that's a drill baby drill president and should increase the supply of oil. But then it all of a sudden seemed like watching that trade, the market realized at the same moment is that, wait, these supply-side initiatives, particularly in the oil market, and you can extend that out to any other market too, they take 18 to 24 months to come to fruition once you start, allowing new wells, new R&D. But the demand part of a Donald Trump presidency could kick in a lot sooner if he immediately cuts corporate taxes. You look just at the small business optimism chart. That chart tracks so politically, and I'm doing quotation marks in the air, every time it seems like we're going to get a Republican who is more of a pro-business administration, small business optimism shoots higher. And this will be no exception. So optimism on the short end could increase demand and could exacerbate inflation a little bit. So there might be pain in the next 6 months. Does any of that make sense?
It does, although I mean some of the supply side can be done more quickly than oil R&D, of course. I mean, and not to mention opening, just for example, opening markets like the idea that we heard last week from the EU president. Maybe we should start buying some more liquefied natural gas from the United States and less from Russia, for example. So opening markets to our energy in addition to unleashing energy production.
Yeah, and that's a huge deal. But again, there's another thing too, though. And I love that happening on the federal level. But we still have some idiotic states that still hamstring every company with regulation. At my restaurant, I get IDOT workers. I will never mention any names, but IDOT workers who actually work for the government. It's like, no, we can barely do any repairs. We can barely build anything. It takes like years and years to get approval for anything. And this is intergovernmental. So like, imagine how it is to other things. So yeah, and I don't.
Well, that's what Ackman was talking about. Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So, and I don't mean to be a wet blanket. I think that this is very, very positive. I just hope people have the right time frames in mind.
Well, the other thing then too is I mean the D.O.G.E boys, the two Bobs, Elon and Vivek, and getting to the business of reducing spend and maybe clawing back some unspent Biden allocations like $1 billion in green energy gambits for rent seekers.
So we were going over these numbers yesterday. So let's just for some fun, $20 million a year to develop a Pakistani Sesame Street program, contract for 130 episodes. $3 million to study hamsters fighting on steroids. $2 million to empower the Serbian LGBT community. 3 months paternity leave for the Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg. And then when you look at these things, someone will say $2 million. That's nothing. Of course, it's nothing. But then you multiply that by 10 million. Right. Here's what I think the market.
Did you get? I'm sorry. Did you include the HIV research on transgender monkeys? Did you catch that one?
No, but
That's
I will going forward.
Yeah. All right, very good.
I mean, we could talk about this all morning. These are fun.
These are so
wasteful government.
$6 million to promote tourism to Egypt. Yeah.
You
know how much. This is all from Rand Paul's Festivus report he does every year. It's like now people are actually paying attention. Finally, at least a couple of people that are of importance. You know how much it costs for a lobster tank at the Defense Department? First of all, why do you need one? Great question. But you know how much it costs for a lobster tank there?
How much?
No, but I have a feeling I'm going to be wowed.
$8,400.
What?
Oh, of course it
Why
does.
do they have a lobster tank at the Department of Defense?
Well, you give it fresh.
Why
lobster
not, Amy?
for Lloyd Austin. Lloyd Austin eats fresh lobster. Yeah, he likes to pick them out.
Because they can. And one of the brother-in-laws sells lobster tanks.
There you go. That's a very Chicago thing.
Exactly.
All right, so Jim Iuorio, as a restaurant owner, have prices gone down at your place?
No. We
How
can't.
could they?
Our expenses continue higher. Yeah. So we're still in an inflationary regime. That's the funniest thing about the CPI is that it's coming in at 2.6. 2.6 is above where we want it to be. That's on top of what we've seen over the last 3.5 years. And I know I told you guys this. Our expenses are up in 3 years. Our expenses are up like 42% by our calculation. So we can't. There's no way. We only raised our prices on the menu 20%. I know you've seen it a lot of other places that have raised more than that. So we still want to be the affordable option. But there's not a chance that we're going to be lowering prices. I hope people understand.
Yeah. Why don't you? Why you don't want to sell your products under cost?
Oddly, no.
I mean, why don't you just do that? Just sell your products at a loss.
Yeah,
you make it up on
I'll
volume.
take it to the committee.
Right. Jay Powell says he's comfortable with the rate cutting, like his latest quarter point announcement, because the economy's strong. Do you agree with Powell's posture?
So yesterday, he said he can just sit back and wait because the economy is strong. I do not agree with this posture. I think the labor market has been wildly overstated for the last 2 years and has been inflated with government jobs, education jobs, and healthcare jobs. And that's quantifiable, too. I don't want to necessarily go into the numbers, but it's way, way above trend what it was. So if now we talked about how do we say about firing the government workers, freeing them so they can go into the private sector? If they free those government employees too quickly in the next 6 months, and I think we could see some trouble in the labor market. I think we're going to see some trouble in the labor market anyway, because just we're not going to be hiring at the same level. And you saw that last NFP report back in the first week of November. It was a trash number. So I disagree with Jay Powell. I think there is probably some, to call it a crisis level economic event coming is probably hyperbolic, but I think there's going to be some weakness in the labor market that needs to be addressed, and he will end up cutting rates a little more than he thinks in 2025.
I don't know. I mean, I think we're doing pretty well if we can afford to spend $20,000 on drag shows in Ecuador. If we can afford if we can afford to spend $30,000 to study the secret language of butchers in Paris.
Oh, that's right. That
I have no words. I fancy someone who has a sarcastic flag. I have literally nothing for that. It is so unbelievable that we do this.
All right. This is much in controversy because I hear from both sides of this, and we get both sides of this on the show. But the run-up in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and the notion that the cryptocurrency is nearing full bloom. Trump, made noise during the campaign about being very pro-crypto. Explain the Bitcoin exploding to, I don't know where it was now, but it was up at over 90,000 for a minute there.
Yeah, let's call it 90 right now. So I've been somewhat of a mild Bitcoin enthusiast for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
It began with the institutional adoption, companies like BlackRock, Van Eck, Fidelity increasing their footprint in space, and particularly I mean BlackRock. BlackRock is, we all work for BlackRock whether we know it or not, and them getting into space, that was a big deal. Now the U.S. government getting into space, that's the only entity that doesn't have as much power as BlackRock. That's number 2 on the list. So, and
Right.
Cynthia Lummis, that's Lummis, is that how you pronounce her name?
Wyoming,
Senator, talking
yeah.
about a strategic Bitcoin reserve that the U.S. government will have. Well, if they do that, then I assume that other countries are going to follow suit as well. I don't even know that much about Bitcoin, but as soon as it started to be adopted so broadly, I jumped in. And by the way, they had me at hedge for fiat currency, for poor stewardship of fiat currency. Yes, I believe that. So my portfolio, that hedge is Bitcoin, gold, silver, copper, platinum, which those metals have not been doing well since Donald Trump was elected, but the Bitcoin has more than overcome it.
Jim Iuorio is the host of the Futures Edge podcast and special contributor to WirePoints, wirepoints.org. Jim, thank you as always.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
You too, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
$20 million. No, it's not the national debt. It's the buying spree at Fox Valley Coins. And it's on from now until Thanksgiving. It's really the perfect storm. Gold and silver are at historic levels. Fox Valley Coins has a huge order to fill with one of their national clients. And September through Thanksgiving is always when coin dealers stock up for Christmas sales. They are especially looking for the old collector coins like silver dollars, all 1700s through early 1900s coins. All kinds of gold, from broken jewelry to gold bars to the old coins, U.S. and foreign. All kinds of silver, from sterling silverware to old coins and bars to Franklin Mint items.